A hungry student is a disturbed student. For years, Zambia's public university students have relied on meal allowances to survive, balancing rigorous academics with the cost of living. But what happens when that lifeline is cut short? At the height of economic struggles, the government at the time made a decision that would shake the student community, suspending meal allowances. The justification, budget constraints. The impact, well, life became a battlefield for thousands of students. Many struggled to buy groceries for their upkeep, let alone focus on their education. Then came a shift. The return of meal allowances under the new administration was more than just a policy reversal. It was a second chance for students to reclaim their dignity and academic focus.
So if you cut off the meal allowance, you scrap it off like the way it was back then, it will be a challenge. Because you cannot study on an empty stomach, you cannot go to class on an empty stomach, you cannot concentrate on an empty stomach.
So I'm assuming if it wasn't there, it would have been difficult for me because I think I'm probably in Cambodia.
Yes.
First years, 2020 and 2021, I was on self-sponsorship. And the finances didn't do well with me, so I withdrew from school. Personally, I'm so grateful because I stopped school at some point. I was going to go back in, maybe to the village where I come from, but with this coming of meal allowances and school fees being helped, I'm so grateful.
The impact was beyond hunger. It affected mental health, focus, and overall academic performance. It doesn't take much research to show that students who struggle financially tend to experience higher stress levels, which directly affect their ability to perform in school.
Me, I come from a very humble background and a single-headed family, just by my mom. So you find that when I receive that meal allowance, at least my mom knows that even if I'm in school, she has where she believes that my child will get money from. Put her in a situation where she's able to eat. Yes, and she has really helped my family a lot, speaking on my mom's part.
For me personally, I have to make sure I buy the needs that will sustain me the whole month and save up something.
We do budget for other things, things like transportations. Yeah, even there are times even where we come from, we even actually support. Support using that self-help.
If Zambia is to develop, education must remain top priority. Any policies that enhances the student experience, especially those from struggling backgrounds, should be encouraged and protected. To appreciate the importance of supporting students through initiatives like the meal allowance, we sat down with a communication specialist at the Ministry of Education, Madam Kunda Mando.
Governance, or good governance, is about people's well-being. How are people being sustained as they go to work? How are they being sustained as they go to school? The issue of free education has been a debate that has been going on for years, and it's a scary thing when you are the one in leadership, when you are the one in government, to declare and pronounce that we are going to actually go into this, because it comes with a lot of implications, and there are things that you have to shoulder as the government if you're going to have a free education. But you see, when a leader decides that, it's very brave. It says something about the character of that leader. Yeah. That's a lot. Young people are now less burdened to start looking out for food because this meal allowance is coming in. There's a case where this child gets the meal allowance and shares it with her parents. You know, we take life for granted because you can afford a bed, you can sleep on a bed, so you think everybody else can. Think about the most vulnerable people. People who can't afford a 5 kwacha. When they get that meal allowance, some of them are so wise that this lady shares with her parents. She sends money to her parents through meal allowance. So when we don't need it and when we don't see the necessity, the need, we feel like, oh, what's this thing they're bragging about? For a lot of people, it has changed their lives. For a lot of people, they have, a lot of students have stopped, burdening their parents because now they can work with something.
It's an element of survival.
There's some kids who tell their parents, don't worry, with the meal allowance, you don't need to send me anything. What about that child? I know, and thank God for politics aside. I know with politics, it's no, but it's not been done right. It's not the way we wanted it. But look at the lives it's touching.
Yeah.
And with meal allowance, it doesn't matter if you're a child to a political leader. It doesn't matter if you're a child to church leader, this and that. As long as you are a student, you have applied, you will be accepted. In the cases where some have not been accepted, they wait until the next year, or they wait until there's a period. I think you've heard that we also allow for appeals.
Yeah.
Some students will appeal and say, look, I applied the last time and I wasn't chosen. And we've had successful cases where the children, the learners, the students are allowed to, or put on the list of those getting meal allowances.
They present the real case and the real case is heard.
Absolutely, and there are many, many cases like that. And it's not about who you look like or what name you have, what tribe you are. That's what I love about education. It cuts across churches and cuts across political parties.
For many students, this meal allowance is not just about convenience. It's survival. As a nation, we must support and encourage every effort that makes education more accessible and less burdensome. The goal should always be to build, not to break, to lift, not to let down. Because when we invest in students, we invest in the future of Zambia. Let's keep the conversation going. What else should be done to improve the education in Zambia? The discussion continues.
The people, even the Bible says so. Money answers all things. Definitely, when just that message comes, there's joy. There's joy. Everything just changes instantly. Everything just changes.
The feeling is excited. Like, even if I was in a bad mood, I'll wake up and be like, Zangena. And that can say, saying Zangena.